So when you first started climbing the stairs, did it look something like that maybe? Yeah? Does it look like this now? Hopefully? Yeah, it's not Peter, but close. So what happened in the meantime? Well, you improved. And this is due to goal setting. And this is what we are talking about today. Peter and I would like to welcome all of you. My name is Malve, to this talk. And maybe some of you joined because of the catchy tagline. And let me get this right out of the way, the black box about cultural hacking. What is cultural hacking? Well, I'd like to go with the quote of Barbara Gajo. She said, cultural hacking is about finding the little things that you can do every day to create a positive and iterative change. Well, it sounds like a quick fix, but it's more than that. It's about goal setting and defining goals for yourself.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Those 5 words are the basis for an acronym. Does anybody know that acronym, maybe here? Very smart. So do you guys know what it's used for also? Anyone? Exactly, it's when you set objectives, those are characteristics of your objectives, of your goals. And it's been around since the 1980s. It goes back to actually Peter Drucker's management by objectives, which was introduced in the 50s. It's been used quite successfully in many different contexts, but it also has its limitations. So let's take a look at the pros and cons. On the plus side, SMART makes you think about what you really want. You have to think about it, you have to think hard about it. It also helps you to prioritize, to focus, and manage your time. On the negative side, what I have encountered quite often is that the R is neglected. The R is the relevance, it's the why. Why am I doing this? Without a very strong why, the what and the how are almost obsolete. Here's an example. Imagine myself as a teenager. I know it's a weird picture. Okay, just go with it. So I wanted to learn Italian. I started after 3 months. I quit. The use case wasn't just strong enough. A few years later, university, I started again. You know, I trailed along for 3, 4, 5 months, but then I quit again. So I said, it's not gonna work. So let's go to Italy. And I moved to Turin to study there. And all of a sudden, I had a very strong why. First of all, I had to follow university classes, okay. But more importantly, I met my future wife. And at the time, the only common language was Italian. Now we have 4, but at that time, you know, so Italian was, I was on the fast speed track for Italian. So that's why the R is so important, but with SMART, I find in my experience, sometimes neglected. Something else that people have a tendency is they don't look left or right. Because they're so focused on what their objective is, they don't look what other people's objectives are, and that there might actually be a conflict. And thirdly, we have the case that it's often viewed as a one-time exercise. Who has seen this situation? Maybe just not when you have. So at the end of the year, you sit down with your manager, advocate, PSL, and you look at your goals and you think, oh, that's not relevant anymore. Yeah? People nodding, great, yeah. So, well, not great, but yes, okay. Shared experience. The thing is, it's like life is too dynamic for just one-time goal setting. So in essence, SMART, there's no problem with SMART per se. The issue is with how the process is implemented. So let's take a look if we can make SMART smarter.
Well, if SMART is not state of the art anymore, what actually makes a good goal a great goal? We came up with a couple of attributes we'd like to share with you, and also share the why you should use it and how you use it. Let's start with stretch goals. Why should you always define a stretch goal? I don't know who's been to the gym lately, but the more you stretch, you actually increase your reach every single time you stretch. How do you do that? Well, envision the greatest version of yourself, and then act upon it. But one little tip: don't get discouraged just because you don't reach it for the first time. Remember, it's a stretch goal. Then there is limit and focus. So who of you has ever tried eating a whole watermelon at one time? There's one person, 2 person, 3 person, oh, couple. How did that go? Romina. Romina, how did you feel afterwards? Okay. Well, I made the experience that when you cut it into little pieces, it's much more enjoyable and it's much more digestible. So it's the same thing with goals. Cut it into pieces, make it into small little things, and focus on them. How do you do that? Well, first, try to think about the most important goal that you have. And then, you act towards them, step by step, until you reach it. Then we have emotions. Well, I was also a little smaller a while ago, and I used to be a super passionate horseback rider, so I was competing in tournaments. I was also a little brag, and my mom also told me to clean up my room, because that wasn't always tidy. Guess which goal I was more passionate about? Becoming a better horseback rider, or becoming a better room cleaner? Well, I guess you got the answer. So creating value is super important, because that actually creates passion, and passion creates dedication, and that lets you reach your goal much quicker. How do you do that? Well, think about the purpose of yourself, the purpose of your job, the purpose of your project, or maybe the purpose of your holacracy role. It doesn't matter. And then tie your goals to this purpose. And then always be aware of why you are doing that. Whenever you sit down being disappointed, take a step back and think about why you are doing that. And if you don't have an answer, you might rethink your goal. The next thing you should also be thinking about it is keeping it simple. Well, Einstein, we all know him, said, make things simple enough, but don't make them any more simple than this already is. Why simple? Because simple means clarity, and clarity means power to act upon it. How do you do that? Well, there's an easy thing to do. Imagine yourself being in the elevator, getting into the elevator bottom floor. You have 20 seconds until you reach the top. There's one stranger with you in that elevator. Can you explain your goals within 20 seconds so he understands? If not, then rethink about your key message and reformulate your goal. One more thing a goal should always be is collaborative. Why collaborative? Well, when you have a support framework around you, science says you're much easier or much more likely to actually achieve your goal, because it triggers momentum. You never let your team down, remember? That's all what we do at Netcentric. And also, when there is somebody else who actually you care about and they care about you and your goals, you're not going to let them down. You will achieve your goals. How do you do that? You're not in this boat alone. There are always rowing partners with you. So first, find what your boat looks like, and then find the people rowing with you. Ask for help. We heard that earlier, don't reinvent the wheel on the center stage, yeah? And then also try to understand the impact that you and others have on your goal. And ultimately, make your peers your partner in crime. Make them be part of the story. Let's quickly summarize. As always in life, you know, there are two sides. It's about the balance. So goals should always be, you know, some sort of stretch goals, but then you actually limit them, focus. And then, of course, they should act to emotions. So emotional goals, never forget your focus. It's about collaboration on one side and simplicity on the other. That's what a good goal should look like.
So, how to achieve your goals better? Let's take a look at some of the process things you can do to make this happen. Transparency. Transparency helps you to avoid the isolation problem I mentioned before, not looking left and right, only being focused on your own goals. But it also gives you some leverage over yourself. Because if you tell others about your goal or you put it onto a wiki page, all of a sudden you're committed. Let me give you an example of how we did this for one of the clients we were working with a few years ago. It was actually... We organized a goal-setting workshop, and there were about 60 people at the time, working in different teams, coming up with their goals, team goals and personal goals. And then after that, we had a review round. So everybody went around and looked at the goals of everybody else, and they made their comments, and they actually added additional goals that they would need from that other person. That was then wrapped up, put together in the workshop documentation and used for the goal-setting exercise. So this is how we, for a client, created this kind of transparency, which can also be used in projects or other settings. This picture, I took this 2 days ago on the way to Valencia from Munich. So always open your eyes, there might be something you can use in a presentation. So what does it say? It says, when things seem hopeless, simply start. Well, things don't have to be hopeless. Now that you have made your goals transparent and you've gotten some leverage on yourself, it's time to do what? To take action. Getting started is always difficult. So even if you only start with a small step, it gets you closer to your goal. So just do it. Key results. As we learned from Malve, it's not such a good idea to eat the watermelon, you know, in one chunk. So cut it into pieces. Come up with milestones. Come up with key results, tangible things you want to create and produce along the way. This helps you to see where you are, to define your progress. And as the old saying goes, what gets measured gets done. Review, the drumbeat of success. So reviews give you the dynamics that you need to make sure that your goals stay relevant and to adapt to change if necessary. So here's the question: what can you do to make sure your goals stay relevant, to make the review part of your routine? Any ideas? Yeah, schedule a meeting with, for example, your PSL, for example. Yeah, good, nice. Another idea? Well, that's it. Make the review part of your routine. Schedule a meeting with your PSL to review your personal goals in projects. I mean, we learned from Kerstin before, regular meetings where you can do this. In Holacracy, we actually have checklists, and we have the review of the projects in every tactical to do this. So that's making it part of your routine. And then lastly, refinement. So life changes. Of course, your goals should be strong-willed. You should be committed to your goals. But if life changes and situation changes, your priorities change, you should also reconsider adapting your goals and making sure they're relevant. Two questions you should ask is, how does the change impact my goals? And what should I still focus on so that I do what matters most? In summary, so make your goals transparent and get some leverage upon yourself to take the initial action, massive action, to produce your first key results. Review your goals and the progress regularly and adapt if necessary.
All right, let's look at the key points again. Can you help me real quick? What was that? Stretch goal, exactly. And this? Watermelon, very good, but what does it mean? Cut it into pieces, focus and limit yourself, exactly. What's the fire? Emotions, yes. Rather a horseback rider than a room cleaner, huh? And this, Einstein said? Keep it simple, yes, exactly. There's one more. Very good, yes. And this? Transparency, yeah. Very dramatic one, yeah, take action, yeah. Next step, exactly. And then also take a look at your, yeah, key results. And then always review first, but then yes, refine when you actually felt like you need something to be adapted. All right, we thought of an example to make that actually, more tangible for you. So my goal now, I want to be a guru in the Netcentric project methodology. How do I do that? Well, you know what? I start small. I start with learning how to structure a project in Jira. Let's check upon that. Is that a stretch goal, becoming a guru? I'd say so, yeah. Conrad knows. Next thing, is that a limit in focus? I said I want to start in structuring a project in Jira. Do we all agree? All right, let's look at the others. Emotions? I'd say yes. Why do I say yes? Because from my perspective, this goal creates value for me. If I'm able to structure a project in Jira, I can be more efficient, and so is my whole project team. So I create value for myself, and I create value for others. That's emotional. Is it simple? Yeah, I want to structure a project in Jira. It sounds simple, as from an explanation-wise. I look into Katharina's eyes. It's not in the doing. Collaboration? Well, when thinking about that goal, are you going to be doing it by yourself? You probably already know a guru, somebody you can ask, somebody that can help you actually becoming a guru. So it's collaborative. Just ask that person.
Next one, transparency. What do? You go and tell your peers about it. Make it very transparent. And then you take massive action because you go to your favorite project management methodology guru and you ask her, what are the tips?
Exactly.
What should I get started with, and get a brain dump, basically. Then you work on your first key results. You set up the initial project ticket structure. You maybe establish a filter that helps you working more effectively and efficiently. And then you present the progress that you've made in one of your project meetings, and then you go back to your favorite PM guru and you talk to her again and get some feedback. And then, if necessary, you refine your goals, or you set the next set of key results that you want to achieve. So, take action. Here's a little suggestion from us. So when you go back to the office on Monday, you open up your HR ticket, and you take a look at your development plan, and you see if you have goals, or if they're relevant, and in both cases, you might want to talk to your PSL and take further steps. Thank you very much.